Piss at me, fucker, I'll kick you. Gardens. Yes. Arm yourself with gardens. Like, have a bunch of gardens around your house, like a moat. And then when the Terminators show up, they're like, what is all this? Right? And then, then they fall into a hole. To like an underground hole. Like a pit that lights on molten fire. Molten lava. Of course, but then that's dangerous to real people. Terminators, man, they're hard to crack. Well, hello there. Thank you so much for coming by and checking out this channel. We talk about a lot of different subjects on this channel. I'm a scientist. I'm a real scientist. I'm an earth scientist, and I have a bit of a background in astrophysics and geology. But I'm also a huge fan of movies and film and TV and music. I'm a huge fan of music. And when I was a kid, I spent a summer with my aunt, and she had to work that summer, so she couldn't like hang out with me, and which is fine. So she got me a video store card. It was a little card where she paid for it for like the whole summer. And you could get 3 movies a day on the card. And I used that card every single day. And in fact, there came a point where they would just let me take whatever movies I wanted because I would just bring them right back. And I went home, I went to my aunt's, and I went down in the basement, and it was quiet and it was cold. And I watched every movie that I could get my hands on. I was a fan of Westerns when I was a kid because my grandfather was a big fan of Westerns, and one of the mannerisms that TK has, if you ever watch the TK videos, is that he doesn't remember the character's name, he just remembers their character from another movie, and that's directly from my grandfather. My grandfather loved movie stars, he just could never remember their names, he could never, he couldn't place them, so he would be like, oh, that's old El Dorado. He's from El Dorado, or that's the guy's from Rio Bravo, and it was great. And so I picked that up for the TK character. And so when I started out as a kid, I always wanted to be a writer. I wanted to write movies, and I wrote tons of movies when I was a kid. And again, that same aunt. My Aunt Sheila, she gave me an old video camera that they had. I don't even know where she got it. She might have gotten it at like a thrift store or something, but it had an old video camera, and it had the little tapes, and I still have that. So I would film myself, I'd tape it to the end of a broomstick, and I'd run around filming myself like a selfie stick. And I'm 45, so if that tells you how long ago that was. I mean, there was no internet. It was dial up, and nobody had internet. Nobody had a cell phone. But I had that video camera, and I had tons of tapes. I found a box of tapes in a thrift store, and they were all blank and they hadn't been opened. They were all the little tapes. And so I would film everything. I had no way to edit, so I would have to edit in camera, right? And so I would run around, I'd film myself, I would set up, I had a series that I would run, which ended up being a book series that I wrote, and it's called Dr. Zestratron of the Fourth Dimension. And he was a scientist, and he was friends with the ghosts of dead presidents who would call him and leave messages on his special space answering machine, and he and his dog Lucky would go on these adventures, and they would fight these things called pirates, which were like pizza delivery was really big in the space realm, but then pirates would try to stop the pizza people, and Dr. Zestratron would get in and help, and he would do it by manipulating time because he was Dr. Zestratron of the Fourth Dimension, and he wasn't based on anything like Doctor Strange, which I love Doctor Strange and Marvel and all those things, but my character was a super nerd, and the books are great. You want to read them, I'll send you a copy. So I was a big fan of directors also. So, because I like the idea of mood and motif and style and theme and all of those things that you get from a movie. You know, if you look at a Wes Anderson movie and you look at a Quentin Tarantino movie, you know, they're not the same style. You look at Roland Emmerich and you look at Michael Bay, all right, they're kind of the same. But, you know, it's a different style, a different feeling, different style. I was always a huge fan of Stanley Kubrick. Stanley Kubrick was my, you know, huge favorite director growing up because I love 2001 and I love The Shining. I love all the iterations of The Shining. I like the one that Stephen King directed, the series. You know, that actually takes place in the real hotel, in the Stanley Hotel, which I go to frequently. I love the Stanley Hotel. Whenever I'm in Colorado, if I can get up there to Estes Park and go to the Stanley Hotel, I love it. You know, Dumb and Dumber was filmed there, also at the Stanley. And when they pull up and he gets out of the Ferrari and he's got the furry boots, that's the Stanley Hotel right in the front. I got pictures of it. So, but Kubrick was. I didn't want to emulate Kubrick. I just liked him, and I wasn't a huge fan of ultraviolence. I know it sounds weird because there was a time, let's see, I guess it was 1994, I think I was 16 years old, I was in high school. A little movie called Pulp Fiction came out, and I had already seen Reservoir Dogs, and I liked it. I thought it was great. I liked the story of it, okay? And, you know, the ear scene messed me up. But there was no denying that Quentin could make a film. He could tell a story, and that's what's always been important to me. And if you look at my silly little movies, I don't have a budget, I don't have a director or somebody to write scripts, it's all me. And the reason they look shitty is because, you know, I gotta work. But the story's there. And that's what you should watch all of my shit for, is just the story. Because I am telling a story. And it's a pretty good one. There's love and loss and tragedy and triumph and all of these things. And some of the things that you will see I've experienced. I've had this beautiful, wonderful freaking life. I've been very fortunate to make friends. I'm an only child. And my father died when I was young, and my mom and I are good friends, but she lives in another state, and, you know, we talk every day on the phone, but we don't see each other a whole lot. And I didn't really grow up with my mom. I kind of like separated myself from the family, and I was like, I'm gonna go off and be something. Didn't work, but it's fine. I'm happy. And so at some point we're gonna have to get into the whole Quentin Tarantino part, because once I saw Pulp Fiction, then I understood storytelling, and which I know that sounds crazy because, you know, I'd watched Kubrick and I was a big fan of, I read The Godfather. Mario Puzo read The Godfather, and Francis Ford Coppola is just amazing to me, and he would be my favorite director if he directed The Shining. I love The Shining. I'm a huge fan of it, not because of like the murder, which is weird. I love that long drawn subtlety of what is going on here. So The Shining is spectacular. And I watch a movie and I'll make up my own damn story with it. I don't care, right? I enjoy canon. I follow canon. I think it's great, but I like diverting off into some other story, some other place, taking the same character and putting it into another place. I just absolutely love that. And The Shining sort of allows for that, because there's the versions that you have of it, it's so different from the book, and the book is so different from the Kubrick film, and then the Stephen King one is so different, and then there's all of these things. I have to tell this Shining story because it's a big deal to me. The Shining takes place, it's set in Colorado, in Estes Park, at the Stanley Hotel, and the hotel in The Shining is one in Oregon. But I actually got to work for um, Bertha Lynn. And Bertha Lynn is the TV caster that's on the TV when Shelley Duvall she's in the kitchen watching it, and they're talking about the snowstorm that's coming. And so Bertha Lynn is on there, and I actually brought my copy of The Shining, which was awesome. And I got a picture with Bertha Lynn, who was my boss, who was in The Shining. And it completed this great circle for me, the Bertha Lynn picture that I have. And she signed my copy of The Shining, which is a big, huge deal to me. I thought that was great. Like, you saw someone that you wouldn't even know. You wouldn't even know because she's the newscaster on the TV, but she's credited, so it's awesome. And so when I got into Quentin Tarantino, the reason I don't know, like when I was in high school, I tried to direct everything that I could. I wrote tons of plays. I wrote one-act festival. I wrote a terrible, terrible script that I actually learned to love throughout the years. Is called Bacula Dentium. And it was a vampire mess that was in 7 parts. And it followed this character who was immortal, like he couldn't die, and then he couldn't destroy him. And it wasn't that he took it to evil, it was that he just couldn't die. And so he just kept running out of shit to do. And like, yes, he went through his killing phase in the character. And he's just this vampire that he can go in the sun. You can stab him in the heart. You can cut off his head. You can chop him into little pieces. And he eventually comes back. And I was dealing with the themes of the fact that the grunt and sweat of under a weary life. You know, I wanted to see a vampire that like wasn't evil, didn't actually need to feed, just live forever, and there's nothing he could do about it. And I don't know, I thought it was great, but you know, you put that into high school and do a setting and try to explain it to everyone, and nobody got it. But whatever, I did it. It was great. And from then, I had been in everything that I could be in. I had been in every play that I could be in. I wrote a bunch of stuff. I was going through like a box of some of my scripts and books, and I don't have them all. Okay, they are all in a basement in Colorado, and they are being cared for in the Professor Presley archives by someone I trust very much. But I write something every single day, and I have 7 novels that I've written, and I started out very young, building my own universe, like before I even understood what that was. And so I wrote a book when I was young, and it was a comic book. First, I did a graphic novel, and then I filmed parts of it, and I've tried to, you know, my friends have all heard it a billion times. It was The Sundowners. The Sundowners is my epic. Sundowners, I think the last time I looked at it, it was at 850 pages. And Sundowners follows this bad guy. His name is Valzant, and he loses everything. And so he creates these creatures of ultimate pain, and they go read Sundowners. It's just read it. Okay, I'll send you a copy. Anyway, and so you know, for the last 2 years, everybody has gotten sick of me talking about Knocks and Dies, my book Knocks and Dies. And Knocks and Dies is actually, it's it's sort of like the beginning of Sundowners, and it's pretty cool, and I'm excited about it. I think it's a great book. So I'm going to talk about every director that I like and their styles and these sort of things, but we are going to do today's starting with Quentin Tarantino, and today's is going to be about Pulp Fiction. And it was 1994 when I saw Pulp Fiction, and people know that I'm not a huge fan of going to the movies. I like to sit in a dark room in a basement and watch it on a big screen and take my time and take notes. I take notes when I watch movies. People hate that. But, you know, whenever I ever give a shit what people hate. Anyway, so Pulp Fiction. I I had seen Reservoir Dogs, and I'm not great with violence. I mean, I was better then. You know, I'm a sad, weird old man now, and I like love and romance and those sort of things. There's almost this feeling that you get is that you either have to like violence or everyone's going to assume things about you. And violence has never been a good thing for me. Whenever I have encountered a violent situation, I don't do well. You don't want to make me angry. You wouldn't like me when I'm angry, motherfucker. No, you would. It's fine. I'm fine. Anyway, so when 4 Rooms came out, I loved it. You know, I've watched a bunch of documentaries and stuff on it, and how like the filming of it and getting it made was just a nightmare. Which whatever. Every filming project is a nightmare, and everybody has to sacrifice, and then there's too much money spent, and you don't get everything you want. That's every single movie of all time. Trust me. And but 4 Rooms turned out to be one of these like really interesting things. You know, it's 4 different rooms of different directors, and the last 2 rooms are Robert Rodriguez and Quentin Tarantino. And of course, the Quentin Tarantino one to me was just spectacular. The very first one has Madonna in it, and I love that, with Madonna and witches, and you know, my thing with witches. And it follows Tim Roth, and he's the bellboy, and he's, you know, it's not really an homage to Jerry Lewis, but it's just, you can tell that there's a hint to it. And the thing about that style, that sort of ADD jumping around and what's going on, and this doesn't make any sense. But then in the end, you start to see that it's the experience that's what's making the sense. So a story should have a beginning, a middle, and an end. It should be compelling and rise, and however the character starts out at the beginning of the scene, they should end up different at the end of the scene. And you follow that, and then you echo it like a poem, you know, like George Lucas says. However, there is a value in taking a linear story and chopping it up and looking at it from different points of view. And just like Star Wars, when they started in the middle, and then you jump back to the prequels, and then you go back to Rogue One, and then everything else, because that's the universe, right? And with 4 Rooms, the disjointed feeling is a character itself. The misunderstanding of what's not misunderstanding, the what is going on, and do I need to be afraid, or do I need to pay attention, or did I miss something? And that's what makes 4 Rooms so compelling for me. We are here at Wild Island Putt-Putt Golf Course because we are investigating. Apparently one of the Easter Island heads said something last night, and there are no animatronics or anything in that, so we're going to investigate that. Does this look masculine? This guy, like, yeah, you're looking that way. So this guy wouldn't sign a piece of paper for you. Like, you love him, but like you're pissed at him. So you got to fight him. You got to fight him like you hate him, but also you care about him. Hold on. Action. Fighting, growl, kick. You got punched. You get punched. Okay, you got punched in the stomach. Get back up. Okay. All right, keep punching. Punch, and then kick, and then you're not going in the water. You're just gonna come up, and you're fighting like this to the camera.
That was for Martha.
One more time.
That was for
more
Martha.
intense.
That was for Martha.
Okay, back up. Okay, now do that one more time.
That was for Martha.
So stand straight up, and you're looking down in the pool on this one. This is a wider shot, so you're talking to Superman, and action.
That was for Martha.
All right, and now swing and punch. Okay, one more time. So come out this way just a little bit so I see the bat symbol.
Okay.
So start there and then land right there. Okay, and action. Oh. There's a frog croaking outside my door. It's raining. I turned on the fan in the hopes that it would drown out the sounds of the frog. I turned on the light, which did work for a bit. Then I went to sleep with the light on. And on the frog croaked. Croaking all night long, never ceasing. Never stopping for a moment. While I slumber, yet when I wake, the call of... Is it a toad? What's the difference between a toad and a frog? Kermit is a frog. Do they croak? I don't know enough about amphibians. Are they amphibians? I don't know a lot about the slimy things in the world. Except for attorneys. I almost had one time. I came really close at FAO. Like there was a sales goal for it. And we gotta say it at the same time. It's Superman! Have you ever been in a situation where you were scared shitless, but you had to pretend you weren't? Like it's life or death, but it's definitely death if you fuck up and break. Inside, you're scared. But on the outside, you're calm and collected. May the force be with you, always. My first time in college, I didn't really have a whole, I spend all day watching film theory, and, Matt Pat is intense. He can get into a subject, like deep into a subject, which is great. He's great. Go watch film theory and food theory and all the theories, because they're good. But don't watch film theory on a conspiracy and then watch a conspiracy channel. Because then you get all weird. Because I'm all weird right now. If I could turn back time and not feel myself doing that shit. The Bumbler. There are no women. There is no money. There are only facts. That is the only treasure we get out of science. Why do we do it? Court order sometimes. We aren't searching for truth. We're searching for fact. Howard Carter is often cited as... So, how does any of this have any bearing on any damn thing that I'm saying? Well, Thanos' quest to gather all of the Power Stones began when he fell in love with Lady Death, and so he wanted to impress her with a special glove show and tell. And in the MCU, his desire was to wipe out half of all living things, that way things could live more. And which you couldn't wipe out you couldn't wipe out half of the trees on the earth, or we would all suffocate and die. Plus the phytoplankton. Plus, what is life, right? Like, what constitutes life? To be or not to be? That is the question. Whether 'tis nobler in the mind to suffer the slings and arrows of outrageous fortune, or to take arms against the sea of troubles and by opposing in them.
Hasta la vista, baby.
Hey, thanks for watching that video. Hope you liked it. If you did, please like, subscribe, and share. It's a small thing that does a big thing, so please do that. Again, thank you very much. Wear your seatbelt. Fucking love you. Have a good night.